These are the start of the suckler herd here. A mix of beef shorthorns, we've got some belted Galloways, and we've got some blue greys. And these guys have just come down off the fell. They've been, someone put a tree in the way, so you can't really see. But behind that tree, on that far fell, basically. So they've been running up there on some allotment ground. They went up there in start of July, onto some better pasture land with the bull, and then they've been on some allotment ground slightly further over. And they've come back last week. We possibly could have kept the blue greys and the Galloways up there longer, but they're just heifers, so we've got them back. The shorthorns have slipped a touch. I think slightly too hard a ground for them. So next year we'll probably run them down here. So this is the first year we've done this with the cows. It's quite a dry field, and bulking up, when you get down there is that much grass. It's sort of growing back into itself. So I think if we do get some wet days, I think it'll take it. I think it'll hold the cows up. Yeah. We'll just move them on, and that should we'll go back out in the spring and clean it out with the cows again if there's a lot left. We use a lot of this. This is 1.8mm wire with arrow post anchors. And it's quite cheap. You can take it out. We don't take it out, but it's sort of semi-permanent. We put springs in the fence line so you can pin it down and run stock over it, or you can drive over it with the bike if you put a sled underneath it. And this is what they call in New Zealand, they're called techno grazing. So there's 4 laneways in here. Push the water trough in, put a wire up, move the cattle every 2. Well, you can set it however you want. You can move them every day if you want, or every 2-3 days. We turn out, we would say 45-50 day rotation to get back, and as it grows up, you speed the rotation up, and we would then drop some out for silage, or we would turn more cows out the sheds or bring them off the kale. So as and when the grass grows, extend the rotation, give them a smaller area as it gets longer. Something we're looking into is taking every other fence out and putting a hedgerow down the middle, or trees down the middle. These are blue grey cattle which we've just bought in calf, blue greys for the fell job. We've got some really nice shorthorns. We'll probably run the shorthorns down here, and we'll run 50 blue greys on the fell, and they'll winter them down here. Just past the blue greys, there's a field there, that's really dry, that's pure gravel. We'll probably come and set some hay bales out on there before long and just fence the blue greys along it and outwinter them on there. So yeah, there's a mix here. We've got shorthorn calves that we bought off Paul's here somewhere. Some of these are a little bit too young to wean really, but we had the cows up there and we're probably a little bit too hard on them, and they were slipping condition. And we got some decent grass, so we thought we'll get them off, run them on this grass. We're just giving them a kilo and a half of cake a day, just because we've just weaned them to replace the protein. We'll run them on this grass. We've got a bit more down the bottom, similar really good stuff with a bit of chicory, a bit of plantain in it, and then they'll go on the kale for winter, and I'll overwinter them on the kale. We thought about leaving them on the cows, putting the cows on the kale, but that was going to make a bit of a mess. We wanted to get some condition back on the cows. So hopefully, ideally we'd like to wean them a little bit older, but we'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. So. If you look up the fell now, you can see the high point marker, which is Cymru Pike. That's where our land stops, and it runs to this high point. We don't have a little bit of that lower, good, better stuff in there. Everything that goes along the top, and you can see some good land that comes in near the pike. That's not ours. Just past the good land, there's some white hill in there. That's where the cows go and run over there, and there's about 180 acre of better fell, and the rest is just sheep in the agreement. So that's where all the ewes are at the minute. And the 60 acres sort of halfway along that fell of good pasture land, which you'll get tupping and lambing on there. So, and the cows will get bulled up there in the summer. One thing I would say is we could never keep cattle out as long as what we can now. We've done this for a few years, and the ground's definitely, we can handle more water now. There's another with the soil, that's a soil structure thing. Make nice square paddocks, and if you make a long paddock like that, they start walking along that fence line, you'll have to plough it. So a bit of it is a bit of knowledge, getting your paddocks nice and square, put your water next to the wire like that, or they're all standing around the water. They probably won't drink it this time of year, but they'll just mash around it. That's one thing we did when we started putting the wire in. What we spent on wire, we bought less in fertiliser for 3 or 4 years till we got the farm fenced, and now hopefully we've got the fences and we're not going to buy any fertiliser. So we gradually reduced the fertiliser and increased the fencing over 3 or 4 years to try and Cash flow really, so we didn't have to go and buy all the fencing and it just all depends on your stock class. So these guys need the best feed on the farm. The cows need decent feed but don't need the best feed. So we don't normally feed much feed to calves, but we've just been a bit hard on them, so we're just giving them a bit of cake, and we'll weigh them in a month's time and see how they're doing, and when they're back growing to a good rate we'll probably knock the feed back, or if they need it we'll keep feeding them all winter.
Change the system, did you have to find a line to start with?
We've always been fairly proactive with the lime, so it hasn't been too bad. But I'd always prefer putting little bits on and doing it every year. Like do 2 or 3 wagon loads every year and just do an area. So we soil test up there one year on that better land, that farm the next year, this year the next year, and just pop round and put half a ton on.
But I mean, you're going to have ground that you're going to reseed or something every time.
Yeah, we've got 2 or 3 tree like rough areas just on the horizon. You can see where some pigs have been. On the far field over there, there's a gorse bank. We've got 3 or 4 areas on the farm like that. We just chuck them in and churn it up and then let them back out and leave it a year or so.
We've reviewed, we've looked at 4 different carbon calculators. Not one of them uses the same algorithms to calculate the carbon as the others. So how can we put any reliance on these carbon footprints? And also one of them had structured the calculation to make sure that their milk producing farmers produced as much milk as possible so their collection costs were low. So they were weighting this carbon calculator for their own benefit, not for the farm benefit. So I, at the moment, have huge scepticism about carbon calculators as a way forward.
Have you published that?
No.
Are you going to publish it?
Not yet. We just need a bit more information. 4 is
You've got the
enough.
camera on you there, so you publish it.
Of the 4, could you make a recommendation for what looks like it would be the...
No, none of them are fit for purpose.
No. And in
That's
fact,
why the advice I've been given.
we may
as well.
discuss this later on, but I would actually go one stage further and say that actually the carbon calculator is unnecessary. What is necessary is an energy calculation, energy in and energy out. Because what this stuff here, it is grass, but actually that's energy. That's food that goes into the cattle or the sheep and is producing meat, which in effect is energy. And it is the energy in and the energy out that we have to be calculating. And again, we'll cover this later on, but you can't get more energy out than you put in.